Hey y'all. So I wanted to talk today about a different kind of topic, something that I normally try to focus on, like training or nutrition or psychology, stuff like that. But I really wanted to talk about success today. And this stems from a podcast that I was asked to be on a few weeks ago, Higher Health podcast, which will be coming out soon. Joseph and Lauren are in charge of this, and they asked me to be on it, and I'm really excited. We had an awesome discussion. So it was me plus them two. So people who are all in the fitness industry, but in a different capacity. And it was just more of like a discussion. It wasn't really like sometimes podcasts are very like question answer. And this was honestly just a really cool discussion. So I cannot wait for that to come out, you guys. And it will be in the next few weeks or so. And I'll definitely post about it on my social media. So you guys will be the first to know. But I wanted to talk about this because Joseph asked me a question at the end, and it was, I don't want to butcher it because I don't remember exactly the question, but something along the lines of like, what has made you successful, or like habits to be successful, or something like that. So it got me thinking, and these are just two things that I've incorporated in my life that I think are really, really helpful. And I think they could help all of you, no matter what you're doing, no matter what capacity that your work is in, no matter, what your fitness goals are, your life goals, anything. This can help you, I think. So I wanted to share them with you guys today. The first thing, because I said there was 2 tips, which I know is like I wanted to make a cool title, like the #1 tip for success, but first of all, I'm just not good at thinking of stuff like that, and I really want to talk about these 2 things, so the top 2 tips for success are not really as exciting as like the whatever. So #1 of the 2 would be being organized. I cannot tell you how important it is to be organized in any aspect of your life when you want to be successful. Trust me when I say that I am, first of all, I'm a very type A, OCD type of person, but I'm also very like scatterbrained on the other side of this. So very, very large split. I'm like the guy in Split. Actually, oh my God, that's a total joke. I'm totally not like that. I just meant I have a split personality. If y'all have seen that movie, don't even tell me about it. I saw the previews and I was losing my mind and I wanted to cry in the corner, but I couldn't go anywhere because it was a movie theater. Anyways, so as you can tell, I'm like very organized, but my thoughts are also like, woo, squirrel, 24/7. So because of that side that you just saw, I have to be organized. Otherwise, nothing's gonna get done, and I'm literally gonna like run in circles all day, and my OCD will be like freaking out, like, why haven't you got anything done? But the scatterbrain part of me will be like, oh my God, I don't know, let's just keep going in the circle. So this is real life for me, and I know there's plenty of people who are like that too. So you have to know yourself. Self-awareness, big word, people use buzzword, whatever you wanna call it. I'm self-aware of those tendencies that I have, so staying organized helps me tremendously. It has tremendously helped me. When I was younger, my grandma would pick me up from school and she'd say, okay, what's the like least favorite thing you want to do today? Like, what is the hardest thing that you have to do for homework? And we would do that first, and then I would knock that out and then get everything else done. So from a very young age, that was instilled into my mind, like whatever is hard, get that done first. And I translated that to all aspects of my life. In my my undergrad and my graduate years, I would always do the hardest assignments first. If something was assigned, I would literally do it with like the first week it was assigned, typically, if I could, just to kind of get it out of the way. Like, that's just how I've always thought. And then there's people who are like, oh my God, I haven't done one thing the whole semester. It's like 2 weeks left. I'm like, how are you surviving? So prioritizing is, I guess, kind of a subset of being organized. So prioritizing what's important. And it's really easy to get caught up with like day-to-day like BS. And trust me, I know I can get that way too. Again, remember the squirrel brain who's like, so for me, you have to balance, your short-term goals with the big picture. So the big picture is, the long game, your goals, like everything that you want to hit with business, relationships, family, travel, whatever they may be. You have those goals, but how you get there, it requires this daily focus. So I know I've talked about this a lot, you guys, the MFCEO Project. Awesome podcast, Andy Frisella, Von Kohler, you guys are amazing. MC Salmon, I can't remember his real name, but he's like the editor too of it, so I'll give him a shout out too because I talk about him, and I would feel bad because he probably doesn't get as much like shout outs as he deserves because he edits all that stuff. Anyways, produces, not edits. They don't edit a podcast. Produce it. Anyways, the brain over here needs to come back over here, right? So they talk about this like daily to-do thing. It's called Win the Day is the podcast. I don't want to butcher anything they talk about. It's an amazing podcast. So go watch that. Win the Day, MFCEO Project, 100%. I can't remember exactly what the number is, but go watch that. So they talk about these like daily lists and actually putting things on there that are important. and not like take the trash out. And you should actually, Andy goes through the whole kind of ideology behind it. And it's a great idea, talking about, 3 to 5 things that are like have to be done today that are like very important. And you can finish that list by 9:30 if you're, doing a good job. And then eventually some things on the list become habit, then you don't have to write them on the list anymore, and then they come down. I've always done really well with to-do lists. To-do lists, sticky notes, planners, I have to have all of that stuff. Otherwise, again, even the mundane tasks, sometimes in the Win the Day, they talk about not writing mundane tasks down. I also think though it is important at some points to have little lists though, for things, maybe like, okay, I got a meal prep today. That stuff becomes more important when I'm dieting or I'm very overwhelmed with like work and travel and things like that, because I'll forget, very easily. So there is obviously prioritizing the important things, but sometimes also just writing like the little tiny things that you need to get done that day that you might forget will keep you so organized. Spreadsheets are super helpful too. Running a business, I need to have spreadsheets of everything for, tax information, sponsorships that I have, miles that, I have to drive, keeping like client things in a spreadsheet. I need to know, of course, like when everyone's package is out, like all these things are so important. And if you're not organized, you're going to be up to here all the time, you guys. So however you need to stay organized on your daily basis to kind of keep the big picture goals in mind, or whatever you need to do that. Try different things out. Maybe like little sticky notes aren't helpful for you. For me, they're life. Maybe you find Andy's list a lot better. So definitely Win the Day, MFCEO Project. And then you might find that you love spreadsheets too. That's a really easy way for me to keep track of everything for, my clients. As far as like the business side of things. And at the end of the year, or I guess whatever part of the year, you have to get all your information together and your taxes, and you just want to stay organized. You never want to just not know what's going on. We have the t-shirt company, Loco Fit Tees. I have to keep track of all of the inventory. I do that by hand. I keep track of the, the mailing stuff, because keeping track of all those things is really important. If someone has an issue with their shirt, oh, hey, what's the tracking number? You need to be able to find that. How many shirts left do we have in this color? All those like little tiny details, that kind of stuff is so important when you have any kind of business. So I know I talked about my personal stuff, but you can use that really for any kind of business aspect. So that's number 1, being organized. Subset is prioritizing what's important. Number 2 is to never stop learning. And this is actually how I did this kind of backwards. When they asked me on the podcast, I said this one, number 2 first, and then number 1. So I don't really think one is more important than the other, but I think they are both very different. So never stop learning. And I am a big, big, big believer in reading, listening to podcasts, going to conferences, reading research, whatever it may be. Everyone learns differently. So, I love reading, but sometimes, I'm busy and I'm doing stuff, so audio is perfect. Some people are very visual. I love watching a good visual, but, to me, it's not the most important thing. So sometimes watching videos is great, but usually audio and reading is better for me. I love the aspect of like a conference style setup though, because then you're like in person. I'd much rather be in person with people than, I'd much rather be in person and then interact with people versus, I learn best that way, and I feel like I can get my opinions across better that way, or if I have a question for someone or some, whatever it may be, I can kind of get that answer solved better. So in person to me is number 1, but if you can't do that, reading, audio, video, whatever it is, continue to do that. And I think the most important topic within that as like a subset is never stop learning, but always continue to learn about things that aren't your field. That's so massively important. I've talked about this extensively, and I post this a lot, the different books and stuff, and I'll keep doing that too, you guys. But most of the books I read are business/psychology style books. And if you guys know, I got my bachelor's and my master's, both in exercise science, both science fields. My research was in different types of dieting behavior, on weight loss and weight regain. I'm a coach for, just, general population and also physique athletes. So none of that stuff directly impacts it. Knowing, my clients' energy needs and how to train them properly and how much cardio to implement is going to be more important. But learning outside of your area of expertise is going to make you much better. I should probably read an English book. Is there a book on like how to talk better and be more concise? I need that book. Seriously, no, really, if you have any recommendations. I should probably look into that. But basically you become a more well-rounded person. And I think that is key. You want to be able to, have different perspectives in all areas of life, not just what you know. Being an expert is awesome. If you have one thing that you do, you want to be the best at that. As a, coach is number one for me. I want to be the best coach that I can possibly be to my clients. So studying the things that are directly related to that are going to be very helpful, but also studying other things outside of that are going to be massively important too. I would never have had such an appreciation for psychology if one, I didn't do my research, but then, in my master's, but then two, I started reading about all these different types of things, and it really makes such a big difference. I mean, from anything from just learning how to, speak to people to get the most out of like whatever you're trying to accomplish. Like say someone's stuck in a plateau for their weight loss efforts. It's not just about like, just cut cardio, just cut food and add cardio. Like it's more than just that. Like you have to be able to connect with someone and get your message across. Likewise, owning a business is a lot about customer service and how I answer emails, how I'm timely, how I'm organized, how I represent myself via, talking to people. Most of the time this is on the internet now just because of the way that the world works now, and I do everything online, so that's email based typically. But I would have never learned these things, you guys, if I didn't step outside of that comfort zone and read different books. And then there's other books that I read that are just like interesting. Like a perfect example is Malcolm Gladwell. He's an awesome author. I'm sure everyone here knows. If you don't know him, oh my gosh, go read some of his books. But they're very interesting, just in general, and they're not necessarily about like one thing or the other. But I've learned so much just from that. So just a small example, but stepping outside of that comfort zone. And I watch Gary Vee all the time. He's a well-respected businessman, entrepreneur, and I don't have I would say that I'm not naturally somebody who's business-oriented or business-minded, but I've learned a lot, and I've literally learned so much just from him. It's amazing. And that's just because it's a YouTube video and his words and how his actions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a little bit different than my normal videos, but when they asked me this on the podcast, I just thought it was such a cool topic and I wanted to expand on it a little more here. I talked about it, of course, on the podcast, but I really kind of hammered home these points for you guys on the video. So first, I will definitely post that link whenever we do put the podcast up, or whenever they put the podcast up. I have nothing to do with that. I will post about it on my social media. I think it'll be awesome. You guys will really enjoy it. And then, let me know how you like this video. I know this is, like I said, a little bit of a different topic than usual, but I hope these tips were helpful. And yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great day.